Hello, hello, everyone. Right. Ooh, that is a bit bright. Disco lights. Right. So, well, some of you are wanting to join me. Great, fantastic. I hope you do. I wanted to just give you a little bit of a heads up about the 2050 release. I know you've just seen it come live this afternoon, so my time. So, thank you so very much. I hope those of you who are enjoying it are really enjoying it. I'm not, it's hello, Inspire. Um, just for those of you who may be watching this after the live stream, I just wanted to let you know that yes, part two is there. I may yet do a special edition with animations later on. Um, hello, phone. Love it. Good to see you, and good to see you too, Inspire. So I may yet do a special edition version later on. But for this year, the focus is very much going to be on the Kaiju. So the next series being the Kaiju series. Ideally, it'll be out on the last day of the month. And I'd probably want to cover, I think, 3 or 4 Kaiju in each particular episode. So, into the room. So, hello, Brian. I've had Brian Griffin. Oh, God. I love it. Faux show. MSW, good to see you. Good to see you with us here on the live show. Live chat for show. I love you guys. You guys are funny. So just to let you know that, yes, there probably might be like a special edition version of 2050. I do have rough animations for some of the other nations that are there on the second half. It's more of a case of I was just finding that I was just finding it hard sort of to finish it off. With COVID, I've been actually busier than I've ever been. We pivoted to working from home and doing a lot of our workshops over Zoom and client sessions over Zoom. And so I found for myself that I was actually working longer and harder than I had before. And for those of you who may be aware of what life is like when you're doing everything over Zoom, it really takes a lot out of you. And I found that I was exhausted by Christmas. I was absolutely exhausted, grumpy, pissed off, not happy, just burnt out. And so subsequently, all of the creativity that I'd been sort of building up had gone to waste because I just couldn't get my head around trying to be creative. Coming to use the computer that you do your creative work on, but suddenly it's turned into your job and it's, you're associating it with stress. So it essentially, that just killed off for me any sort of desire to do any sort of creative work. So getting back into the EAS stuff has been really hard. Fortunately, my creative mojo has come back in the last few weeks. As you'll note that there are a number of photos on the wall and some new synthesizers. So needless to say, my photography and music's come back, and I'm starting to get the mojo coming back for the EAS stuff as well. Ryan's surprised to see Canada in the scenario. The fact that Alberta is one of the provinces as wildfires is interesting. I wanted to put Canada in deliberately because will be quite heavily affected by climate change. So yeah, wildfires could happen anywhere in Canada. So yeah, Alberta just got it. So Ryan, we only had the ones we love. I love Canada, so Canada copped it. Let's put it that way. For those of you who don't know, my twin brother's ex-wife is Canadian. And my twin brother raves about how much he loves Canada, and I would dearly love to go one day. So Canada, I will be in you in the future after COVID, I hope. The magnetic flux part, Pis Tiamu. So please forgive my terrible pronunciations. Magnetic flux is scary. And it is, and it will be scary when it happens. We're long overdue for a flux event. But the thing is, I've really condensed the time period in with the magnetic flux right down just for dramatic effect. A magnetic flux event would actually should occur over anywhere from a number of decades to a couple of hundred years. But in this scenario, it's been condensed. Only just for dramatic effect and, for the scares, because that's what this channel's about. You would find that with the changes in the magnetic flux, that's all to do with the Earth's poles and the core of the Earth, and how you get essentially globs in the magma as it's moving, and it starts to change the magnetism. That all sort of works itself out, and then we get a flip. We've had a flip previously. We're due for another one. The difference is we didn't have a whole lot of electronic devices. We didn't have things that depended on magnetism and all sorts of other things. And as the Earth's magnetic fields change, you would expect there to be issues with the Van Allen belt and the way that satellites and so on are essentially protected by the Van Allen belts. You could have some issues there. So yeah. Right, lethality complex, lovely to see you. Glad to have you with us. Inspire was asking, did the Australian zombie scenario have any alternate endings other than the path ending the Earth? Yes, Inspire, there are 3 alternative endings to that scenario, actually. There's one where the path actually didn't kill the Earth and they just created a gigantic crater, which sort of leaked a bit of magma, but very quickly sort of sorted its shit out. So that's one way it could go. There are the other 3 scenarios are one where the CUT comes out on top, the Tokyo Confederacy comes out on top, and then there's a third one where they all get it together and decide to cooperate. But of course, that's just not going to work for an emergency warnings channel situation. COVID won't turn into anything like that. I had really seriously thought about doing some COVID warning videos, because living here in Melbourne, we went into lockdown and it sucked, but it was necessary. And it used to really shit me to tears to see people who weren't wearing masks, the anti-maskers. I just thought, you selfish pricks. So I really wanted to actually do a video. And in the end, I thought, I want to go with good taste and I'm going to stay back from it. So many people have died. It's been bloody awful. It's touched clients of mine, people I know. It's just been an awful time. And, now the UK's in lockdown. America is just totally in the toilet, for goodness sakes. If Trump could be held responsibility for, how he's mismanaged things up there, it would, don't even get me started. It just makes me so angry. So I do worry so much. And I just didn't think it was in good taste. I just thought it was a bit naff. To be honest with you, to come along and go, well, let's make an EAS out of the suffering that the world's going through. I just didn't think it was particularly appropriate, to be honest with you. Right. So let's have a look at Jasper. There's an infestation of mountain pine beetles. Interesting, right? Okay. Maybe if COVID came from fungus. I love it, Fat Brian Griffin. Pooh Killer, good to see you, man. Good to see you. 15XGU, hello. Jeffrey, thank you for enjoying the zombie scenario. I really had so much fun, doing that. And I was in this really great creative place at the time to do it as well. And it was this case of, I want to do this. There might yet be another one in the future. You never know. You know me, I will find random scenarios. This year's scenario is the Kaiju. That will be my big focus for the year. I should get the Doctor Who one done, I know. Part 1's there. It's been years. I've got to finish it off. It was intended to be made around Peter Capaldi's Doctor. Now we've got lovely Jodie, so it might be revamped for hers. I don't know. Thinking about that, though, the ending is still going to be the same. And it's, if anything, it's a comedy ending, so it's a bit of a funny one. A friend of mine who has written for Torchwood had a little bit of a laugh when I told them about the scenario would be. Right. That one, Bronica, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah, Jeffrey, went out and did some research. Some of it's really accurate, other parts is way off, but it's still all there for a dramatic effect. And people from around the world, from those countries, I've seen them have had some nice responses. So, thanking you very much. And some countries don't even have an emergency warning system, so I had to make things up to imagine them. The Tom Brady of yes content. Thank you, Inspire. Thank you, Lakes. Lakes 8, AEIT. Now remember, I'm Australian, so AEIT 8 is sort of what that comes across to be. So again, pronunciations, guys. Some days I'm great at it. Sometimes I'm pants. Italy and Japan. Yeah, no. I did actually have some pretty complex animations for Italy and Japan. And I got about halfway through them and I really wasn't happy with them, to be honest with you. And then, of course, COVID happened. I went to come back to them again and again and again. I just couldn't get my creative mojo together. So if I do a special edition during this year, and if suddenly I've got some downtime in between composing and doing photography and making UEAS videos and seeing my clients that I work with 6 days a week, I get 1 day a week to myself at the moment, so sometimes it's just not enough time in the days to fit it all in. But one day I will. Lethality complex. Yeah, Brisbane was okay. Melbourne, we got shafted by COVID, and a lot of people are blaming it on the government and stuff. It's human nature, people. People rot the government. People don't get trained properly. People infect each other. In the end, it's humans that caused all of this. It's humans that keep on doing it to each other. We have to understand that only as humans can we actually fix our business with this. Yeah, look, in America, I just want to hug you all so much. Those of you who are in LA, like America's just gone to pot with this, and I'm so sad to see that because America's amazing. Yeah. Now I'm just checking your questions, guys. Yeah, Harv, I love. If Harv wants to do it, that's totally fine. If he wants to do COVID stuff, because Harv's fantastic. Bells, thank you for joining us. So yeah, the Kaiju series is this year's series. Pisatiamu. The Cyberman one is the science fiction Doctor Who one. Yes. I thought about doing a COVID, but I sort of thought it was a bit tacky for me anyway. Thank you, Bleak. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Glad you're liking them. So, right, just going through the questions, guys. So, having a little look here. Bells, yeah. There's a little video tutorial I did a little while ago, Bells, about how to make EASs. Feel free to have a look at that. Yeah, go nuts. Everyone's got their own style of doing these things. So, I bring my own graphic design style to things and how I like to do it, but everyone's got their own style. You can be totally all over how they do it strictly, or you can create your own graphics and give it your own style. It's totally up to you. I know there's purists among us who love the exact EAS stuff, whereas I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I like to go a little bit further. Right, Sacramento. Monty, hello to Sacramento. I hope you're keeping yourselves well. Snowveltica, thank you so much. Love to see you. EAS Australia, love to see you, mate. Good to see you. Right, so I'm staying safe. I have masks. Those of you who know me well know that I spend my day teaching the elderly, how to use their iPhones and their iPads and all that sort of stuff. So I'm masked up when I see clients all the time. Actually, masked up, I should say. Ooh, just got the dryers on. Right. So it's pretty tough, but I'm, really worried about everyone in America and the UK and, India and so on, and Russia's pretty bad too. It's been an absolutely crap year. So 2021, things can only get better, as the song says. Right. Inspire, give it a go. Give it a try. You never know where you can get that sort of stuff. EAS, good to see you. Alternate Steve, good to see you. Texas, they don't make them bigger than Texas, do they? I'd love to come and see Texas one day. Bells, oh my God, so glad to see that you survived COVID. Yeah, Puka. I know it sucks down here, but Melbourne's okay. We're not going back into lockdown. The borders are closed, but thank God for that. But when you came home, you got to lockdown. I really enjoyed the Dark Mark mock. EAS, so well done. That's really cool. I'm loving the looks like it's rather Nintendo inspired. Your little icon there, by the way. Lethality, EA stuff from tabletop RPGs. Very nice. Yeah, I've got a friend of mine, someone I used to work with actually, was a huge Dungeons and Dragons player. So for Christmas last year, I bought them dice, and they were so pleased. So like, I know what to get you, D&D guys. Tabletop gaming is really fantastic. It's one of those things I never got into myself, but I know quite a few people who get into it, particularly Warhammer. So yeah, that's particularly amazing. The Tiangong, thank you, Lakes. For those of you who aren't aware, the Tiangong scenario is a bit of a piss take. And to be honest with you, I wanted to have some fun with it, okay? Hence why a certain person gets killed in their concert in Perth. Needless to say, his fans are not happy about that. It was about having a bit of fun, but also just exploring some other options and doing something a little bit different. So I'm glad you enjoyed that, guys. Yeah, Jeffrey. Oh, like, my God, I wish I could hug all of you in America. I really wish I could. Okay, I'll have a look at your chat here. So yeah, you guys are really, suffering up there in America. So it's been pretty shocking. I'm just having a look at some of the other ones. So yeah, EAS, I have been watching. Hey, you're a Nintendo Mario fan? Well, look what I've got. Yes, I have one of them as well. I have owned Nintendo consoles since I was a little. I had a Game & Watch, and then you name the Nintendo console, I had it apart from a Virtual Boy. I wasn't going to give myself headaches for anything. Yeah, so Bells is in Arizona, yeah, and under curfew. I know it's been really tough for you guys, for everyone that's in lockdowns. Hopefully where you are with your lockdown, your government's allowing you to get out for exercise like they did here in Melbourne. We're all allowed outside for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon to exercise. Now, I know it sounds totally like prison, and in a way it is. But it was that hour of exercise that was the thing that made the difference. So if you are in lockdown and they are allowing you out to do exercise, get out and take that advantage, even if it's just walking around the street and being able to wave to your neighbours. One of the other things one of our neighbours did was they started letterboxing everyone on the street and saying, if anyone wants to chat and have a little community chat, we can start a Facebook. We can email each other if we like and talk about things in the street and the things we can do for each other. And so their street got a lot more collegiate. The floor that I live on here, we all know each other now. We've all become friends because of COVID. And indeed, I had most people up on the floor to my place for Disco New Year's. You can see I've got all my disco lights. And so that was a little fun one where, we had a small group, so it was COVID safe, and we got to ring in the new year. Having a look at the chat again. Bleak. Yeah, out to Raleigh in North Carolina. Yeah, dangerous with the travel in America too. I wouldn't even be traveling, to be honest with you. I do worry that some people in America just don't seem to really give a damn about someone else. And there's all those people that run off down to Mexico, and you think Mexico's got it pretty bad at the moment. It's just that you're hanging out in places where it isn't there yet. Queensland. Piazza you're from Queensland. Very nice. I went to Cairns a couple of years ago on holiday, and I've been to Brisbane as well. Cairns, yeah, I'd probably want to live at Corando. It's pretty spectacular up there right now. Those of you overseas may not be aware that it's summer here in Australia, but we're in La Nina, which means that we get a lot more water. And living down here in Melbourne, it's actually very close to what it's like living in London. It's cool and wet and rainy today, and it's actually a lot more like winter is. Melbourne's very much like London without the snow, even though actually, funnily enough, in Melbourne we do get snow at higher elevations. So if you live in the CBD and you're in a high-rise apartment, on some winter days it's actually possible for you to have snow on your windowsill, whereas everyone on ground level doesn't get it. Right, let's have a look at the chat again. Yeah, Trump doesn't give a damn. Trump only gave a damn about himself, guys. And that's the thing that makes me so sad for the people that believed in him. Yeah, he did some things that he'd promised to do, but he's caused so much more heartache and pain for the rest of it. So, but you know, if you're a fan of Trump, good on you. But you know, anyway. Right, having a little look at the chat again. Blake, hey, you guys, yeah, if you want to take the video today as some sort of thank you, go for it. And it was just so nice to get it done as well. Yeah, Monty, California is interesting. I'd love to go to California. I'd love to go to LA as well. Yeah, so everyone's off having a tough one. Piazitimu, have a great day. Look after yourself. Yeah, voice chats are a great thing to do. EAS as well. Starting that little you know, that little community thing going. Yeah, and Arizona's not helping. Oh my God. America again. What the heck, guys? You know, 37 on Monday in Melbourne. Ooh, it's going to be warm. Okay, I'll get the fan out because this place that I live in gets really hot when it gets hot here in Melbourne. And we tend to get a little bit more humid, so it could be a little bit less comfortable than the 40s that they get in Perth where I used to live. You know, oh, remember when I live chatted from Perth while I was on holiday? Guess what happened that day? I got so sunburned, I had heat stroke. I spent the next day in bed. It was terrible. Mind you, it was in an air-conditioned hotel, so I was very pleased in one way. Right. Having a look at the chat again. Yeah, Trump's probably lost it. You know what? Trump's problem is narcissism. And I'm sure that there's probably Parkies or Alzheimer's or something else in there that's all mixed in with it, unfortunately. Let's not talk about Trump. Let's talk about happier things. You know, because just, you know what I find? The more I think about him, the more angry I get, and that makes me unhappy. And I don't want to be unhappy. This year's all about happiness. For example, this year for me is also losing weight, more exercise, back into the gym, working on ridding myself of my addictions, gratitude, and fighting loneliness. So being able to say, you know, gratitude's a huge thing. Having a gratitude diary, writing 3 things down a day in a book and why you're, you know, grateful for them. It's actually really good for your mental health. Right. Glad you enjoyed Lakes. For the software I use, everyone, I use Final Cut Pro, I use Motion, I use Photoshop, and also GIMP. As well, and Apple's preview app. So I use a couple of different apps for making the graphics, but when it comes to doing the animations, they all get compiled together in Motion, and I use Motion for that. I really should learn After Effects. I really got to at some point. Yes, I know I should get with the plan and get into After Effects, so I will at some point. And then I use Final Cut Pro because to edit everything together and be able to drop different audio, text in and stuff as well. Final Cut Pro lets me do a lot more things. And, you know, once I moved up from using iMovie, I just shudder even saying it. Final Cut Pro is pretty fantastic. So you always loved it. Right, badges. Arizona gets to 50. Yeah, like Arizona, like, hey, you know, I love Arizona, but I'm going to winter or maybe spring. Definitely not in the height of summer in Arizona. No way. Yeah, sunscreen and ice cream in Australia. Oh yeah, the rain. Yeah, you know, but you know, EAS, you got a beach house, dude. Yes, for the beach house. That's what I'm saying. I'd love a beach house. Mind you, I just love a house. Right. Happy things, happy things. That's what we want to do. Now that's interesting. Lakes is asking about the inspiration for the different scenarios. So what they were based on was the IPCC predictions, and then some extrapolation based on what would happen in societal collapses. So what tends to happen when societies start to collapse is that you get governments that get themselves increasingly into debt to try and combat things and make people happy. But sometimes you get into a debt spiral and it all goes down from there and you end up as a third world nation. My worry is that's what's going to happen to the UK over the next 10 years, is that they'll have a real big issue after leaving the EU. But you just don't know. Suddenly something amazing could happen and England could turn it all around. Who knows? But my concern is that it's, particularly under Johnson, England could be in trouble. Hey, we're all playing the heat wave game with our locations in America. 46 degrees in Cali. Yes, is that? Hope that's centigrade, because that's pretty hot. Funnily enough, for those of you unaware, various parts of Australia actually correspond in temperate climate to parts of America. If you live in Perth, it's California. Totally West Coast. The same sort of conditions: dry, hot most of the year, great beaches, and funnily enough, a lot of American celebrities have holiday houses in Perth, funnily enough. Yeah, that's a RuPaul's got family in Perth. One of his sisters lives in Perth. So Ru comes over fairly often. Mind you, his husband is Australian as well. And yeah, Robbie Williams has got a place, and a few other actors and so on have little houses in Perth that most people don't know about. They're usually up in the hills, and it's a great place for them to get away, and people just leave them alone, which is great. Okay. NorCal. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Glad you enjoyed the zombie plague. Great to see you from Cali. Yes, we're Australia Light, our plants, and yeah, look, we've got evil plants and animals, we've got drop bears. I still love that people fall for drop bears. I mean, come on. Yowies are what you got to watch out for, okay? Drop bear, yowies are the things you got to worry about. We'll talk about yowies sometimes. That could make it a uniquely Australian EAS. Yes, the feral yowie invasion. Could be interesting. Go and look it up, everyone. If you don't know what a yowie is, YOWIE, you can learn about that particular piece of Australian folklore. Right. Oh, you're a vet. Oh, good on you, Bells. Fantastic. Yeah. Vietnam vets, love you. Anyone who served in the forces, love you. You've done your country proud by serving for your people. That's a really important thing. No matter what you think, I'm a pacifist myself, but I have a huge respect for the Army, Navy, and Air Force. There we go. There's a little Air Force teddy up there. I get them every year from Legacy. I think it's a really important thing to support the families of soldiers, and for soldiers that are returning and are suffering, and the families of soldiers who have passed away in combat and need support. Legacy, if you have a local Legacy chapter, do reach out and help them. They do amazing work with returned soldiers, particularly younger soldiers now that have PTSD and things like that. There's a range of amazing charities out there that you can help with soldiers that have come back, because they often have to make the most stark readjustments to civilian life that we would never have to do. We'd never have to go to a war zone. We'd never have to see people get blown up in front of our eyes. You've got everyday people that serve and they come back and, they need our support. iMovie's not bad, yes, that's true. Silent Green. It's paper. Yes. I thought about doing a Soylent Green EAS, actually. I thought about that. It's sort of been sitting in the back burner for a while. Yes, I saw about the Americans dropping the nuke in 58 without the fissile core, and so it never went off, thank God. It was one of those hilarious comedic moments which could have been deadly. Right. Yes, I will be watching EAS. I have been watching everyone's channels, by the way, dipping in here and there. I don't always leave a comment, but I do pop in and have a look every now and again, okay? Not as much as I'd like to, but I do have a look. Desert Storm. Okay. Nuclear attack. Nice. Okay. Monty, on you. Constorm, you're quite right. The 2050 scenario I've done is the extreme example. It is based around the IPCC projections, and there is some extrapolation there. So it is an extreme example. I would hope to goodness that it never happens, because I will be 75 in 2050. So I would naturally would not want to be an elderly person watching society fall down around us. To be honest with you, if it did get to that point, I would probably commit euthanasia anyway, because why would you want to hang around being a burden on society when so many people are struggling? That's a whole other scenario too, about this idea of the last of the baby boomers and the generation after that seeing how much society is suffering and deciding to commit euthanasia en masse. That was the thing with the Japanese and so on. So in the first one, so yeah, these sorts of things can happen, but that's all for the horror content and the drama side of things. Let's have a look. Good night, NorCal. Look after yourself, please. Definitely. Please look after yourselves, guys. So whilst it's all, as the song goes, there are bad times just around the corner. Go and have a look at that Robbie Williams version of that song. There are bad times just around the corner. It's a Noel Coward song, which, funnily enough, I think was written in the 1930s and was strangely prescient about World War II. I'm not exactly sure on the timing. And when you actually go and listen to that song now, it suddenly sounds rather prescient all over again. So there are bad times just around the corner. Robbie Williams' version is pretty good. It's a bit of an interesting one. I would like to see someone do a movie out of the 2050 scenarios that I've got and treat it like a docudrama, like the film Threads. We've talked on previous occasions about Threads. Threads has been an inspiration of mine for quite some time. I watch it every 6 months. I find it one of the most frightening things I've ever seen. When the bombs go off, I still almost do like the lady in the puddle. If you've never seen Threads, go and see it. If you've seen the American sort of version, that's nice, a bit more drama, but Threads will absolutely leave you shell-shocked. And the reason I come back to it again and again is because of that sense of the drama with the hard facts being presented. And so I'd love to see someone do, a 2050 video in the next couple of years saying, with that whole idea of being a docudrama and those bits of hard fact being dropped in to add emphasis onto the dramatic parts. I think if you could come up with a couple of families, you could do that. Much like Russell T Davies' series Years and Years. If you haven't seen that, go and have a look at that. That's really full on. A certain character died. People die in that actually quite a bit in that show. And it's quite prophetic. So Years and Years, the series Years and Years, that's an amazing one as well. Okay, let's have a little look at the chat here. Bells, you're first part of Generation X, 65, and I'm the last, I think, because I was born in 75. 45 at the moment. Can you believe it? 45. Whew, where'd the time go? Euthanasia. Yeah, why would I want to see euthanasia? I wouldn't want to see euthanasia. I personally would sacrifice my own life if it meant that family would be better off. But I would be, I wouldn't be considering that until, I was well and truly into my 70s, because as far as I'm concerned, I would like to live into my 70s to my 80s. Once you get into your 90s, unless you're very, very fit, you end up with so many little issues with your health anyway. And, as someone who teaches the elderly, and most of my clients are over 80, I see what health issues they get as you age. It's one of those things that, you have to be really, really healthy to want to keep on living into your hundreds. Here we go. So the zombie plague one, big leader. That was purely one day I just had that thought, why not do a zombie one? Why not? And it just went from there, really. Historical timeline stories. That's really great, Alternate Steve. I've been working on an Alternative Australia series called Pacifica. And the Bible for it is essentially a full television series where you go through and an alternative Australia that becomes a nuclear power right after World War II and eventually is takes over the planet. But that's another whole story altogether. When the Wind Blows made me cry my eyes out because it was, cartoon, and it was so sad. Was When the Wind Blows. Yeah, that was a real shocker. EAS, you made a mock based off the Rage virus 28 days later. Woo-hoo. Good one. Fantastic. 28 days later was an influence on me quite a lot as well. And that's why the whole thing of how the virus is so virulent and very, very quickly causes problems everywhere. Good on you, EAS Australia. Having a look at the Threads is pretty horrifying. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. You might want to go for a walk afterwards. Don't watch it before bed. Don't. Okay, just don't. Having a look at the chat here. And Lakes, I deliberately sort of use a lot of that stuff like Protect and Survive. I found a revelation because it suddenly made the EASs that I was doing completely different. I suddenly thought, hold on, now we can use this as a dramatic device, and that's where suddenly everything changed. Bernie Sanders is pretty amazing. He gets up, yeah. Bernie Sanders, how does he keep on going? Goodness me. Yeah, and RBG, oh my God, have we lost a legend with RBG. That woman could still plank. That was incredible. It's like, what the heck? It was so sad for RBG to go. But unfortunately, that's life. Right. Special Bulletin. Oh, Special Bulletin's fantastic, Alternate Steve. I've seen that as well. And there's another one, I think, as well. I know there's Special Bulletin, but there's another one where Through the Looking Glass, I think it is. Might be that one. Interstellar. That was actually really interesting. Bells, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm writing that down. Interstellar EAS. Yeah. There we go. Written down. Thank you very much. That's a good idea, like the last days of Earth. Yeah. That's pretty true. Because, 2050 is sort of, the start of the end. Maybe I could come along, 50 years later and go, well, we're screwed, everyone. And here's the EAS to prove it. Having a look at the chat. Countdown to Looking Glass. That's the one, Bells. Thank you so much. Countdown to Looking Glass. That's all on YouTube as well, guys. So all of the stuff we've talked about is on YouTube, which is YCE. No part 3 to 2050. There might be a special edition, perhaps. I thought about doing a part 3 because I really wanted to make parts of Asia suffer and India and thing like that. But then again, I thought it's 2050. That'd be suffering anyway. So maybe if I do a special edition, and I might, maybe drop another scenario or two in. You never know. Me, I sometimes come back along to videos and do a special edition version, just to add more graphics and maybe another couple of scenarios. I might yet, whack all of them together in one compilation video and do it that way as a special edition. Let me masticate on that one for a while. I said masticate, not master. Yeah, okay. One is chewing. The other one is something very indifferent indeed. So that's fantastic. Someone made an EAS of Without Warning. Wow, Constorm, that's fantastic. Okay. So The One Night Stand from 1984. Oh yeah, there's that too. If 28 days happened in real life, we're screwed. Red alert. I haven't seen you in ages, buddy. I hope you're well. Fantastic. Look, if 28 days happened for real, we'd be fucked, to be honest with you, particularly if it was an airborne virus, because if it was something that was particularly virulent, and it leads to people mutating and becoming violent, you'd have, so many problems so quickly, because your military wouldn't be able to scramble in time to neutralize the threat. You would probably find that large infections would occur overnight, meaning that you'd have large groups of infected to deal with in groups and so on. So, yeah, it probably could happen, but that's a question probably better answered by someone who works, as an immunologist or something like that. They would probably give you a better answer. But yeah, it could very well happen. Okay. I'm not too bad, red alert, still blind in this eye, possibly have to have the gallbladder out. Hoping to get fit this year. Otherwise, I'm all right, apart from being middle-aged. Don't be middle-aged. I'm in the middle of one of the things I've been asked is, what's it like being 45? And I go, I'm in the middle of a full-blown midlife crisis, except I haven't dated someone that's half my age. I'm not bald, I don't wear caps, and I don't have a convertible. I haven't sunk into any of those particular ones yet, although I have, been buying synthesizers and getting my photography printed. So you can see just behind, there you go. And there's actually another 2 walls with photography on them. And one of the things I would like to do this year is to do an exhibition of my black and whites, because I've started a new photographic project, and it's called Trapped in Bronze. And it's all basically photographs of horses that are bronze statues. And when you take photos of them in black and white and from different angles and lighting conditions, and I'd like to do a bit of post-production to pull a lot of the damage that are in statues out to make it more prominent, you often find that the horses actually sort of, in some respects, become quite horrific looking, because there is almost that sense of a being that's trapped within the bronze and is desperately trying to get out. And it's just something I've I've discovered since I've started photographing them and processing the photos of statues that have got horses in them. So there's a whole photographic series that I've been working on, and that I'd like to do as an exhibition, maybe later in the year if it's possible to do so. Now, let's have a look at the chat. Is Kaiju a war or virus-based EAS? No, it's not. Kaiju is all based around Kaiju monsters, so Godzilla and the other Kaiju series. So the whole idea with Kaiju is at the end of the month, there'll be an emergency scenario warning video where there will be a number of different Kaiju attacking different parts on Earth at one particular time. And so each month it'll be a different set of Kaiju, and hopefully at the end of the month it'll be like at the end of the year there might be a big royal rumble of Kaiju and mechas and goodies and baddies, fighting it out as an EAS. The whole idea of Godzilla teaming up with Ultraman and a mecha from God, you know the film, and Pacific Rim, things like that. But each month would be 3 or 4 different kaiju across those different types of series, attacking different parts of the world at once. So it'd probably be about a 5 to 7 minute video each one every month for the rest of the year, and then I might do them into a compilation. Yeah, much like I did the initial zombie videos, where they were sort of drips and drabs every month for a nation or two, and then I edited them together at the end of the year to give you that big group. Okay. Constorm, the optical illusion when you're reading the text of the bomb, that's good old classic red on blue effect. That's intentional. Okay, depending on if you're watching it at 30 or 60 frames a second. Some of that also is YouTube's encoding causing issues with blurring of text. So, for example, the raw version, the text is really, really readable. But when it actually goes through YouTube's filtering processes, what tends to happen is it tends to make that text a little bit blurry and therefore a little bit hard to read. And yes, if you actually stare at that text but you let your eyes defocus, you can sort of get a bit of an optical illusion going on. But don't do that to your eyesight, people. Now, smallpox. That's interesting. Funnily enough, smallpox, I had shingles and meningitis. A couple of Christmases ago, you would have probably seen the photos of me when I was in hospital and I'd had a beard and I'd lost a whole lot of weight. You do not want shingles and meningitis from it. You can now get a vaccination for shingles. Shingles is adult chickenpox. So you can actually get a vaccination for that. If you can get it, get it. Okay, because you can get shingles from all sorts of different things, and it's an awful thing to have. Mind you, syphilis is also a terrible thing to have. I will own this one. I had a partner who gave me syphilis several years ago. The first time we decided to bear back after, seeing each other for a couple of months, and they gave me syphilis because they'd been playing around behind my back. Needless to say, I wasn't happy, and then they turned around and dumped me, which I was like, to them. So you don't want syphilis either, people. Just because people are taking PrEP doesn't mean that you're suddenly immune from syphilis, gonorrhea, you name it. PrEP is there to stop you from getting HIV. It doesn't stop you from getting other sexually transmitted diseases. So if you're concerned, you should be using a condom. Now, Katy Perry's Dark Horse. I could think about doing a remix. I'm not much of a Katy fan. Funnily enough, I actually missed out on meeting her at the cricket last year. And I hadn't realised I was being offered to say hello to her. Next time I will. She seems quite nice. Let's have a look. How is that there's a small amount of people, yet this community is nuts over... I'm not sure what we're nuts over Astronomic Cat, but that's all right. Resident Evil type beings as monsters. Monty, that's the zombie scenario. The further you get into the zombie scenario, the mutations start, and then they turn into Resident Evil type beings. So yeah. How is it that smaller people is nuts over it? People like my stuff. Astronomic Cat, I suppose. Also because there's a sense of drama. Like, I deliberately go the dramatic route. I don't necessarily go for straight copies of existing emergency warnings or their formats. I like to extrapolate it into using the emergency warning as a dramatic device for storytelling. That's the whole thing of it for me. It's more of a dramatic device. Where you've got EAS purists who will, copy and upload real EAS emergencies, and that's fine. That's totally cool. For me, I like to go in a different direction. The Doctor Who one, Constorm. Okay. So that is on the to-do list for this year, okay? Earlier, you probably weren't here in the chat earlier. What I was saying was that when I first did it, it was framed around Peter Capaldi's Doctor. Now that we've got Jodie, it needs a little bit of rejigging. Because what I'd done with Capaldi's Doctor is I had actually cut up little samples of his voice and inserted them as an audio reply. But it never quite worked. Whereas I think with Jodie, I could probably do something a little bit different. So I'm thinking that way to do it. Thank you, EAS, for enjoying the remixes. There's more music coming, e.g. why I have some new synths. I don't know if you can actually see that. Right, there we go. So I've got an Odyssey in the back there. I've got a Korg Micro Korg, a Korg Mini Logue, a IK Multimedia Uno synth, a Ultra Nova, and I've also got an MS-101 by Behringer, which is their version of some of the 80s synths. So yeah, I've got a few synths that I've been saving up for. Yeah. Now, yeah, apparently this thing about Jody leaving or getting the boot or whatever, I will believe that when I see an official release. I wouldn't be surprised every time you get into an actor's third season playing the Doctor, the tabloids immediately start going, "Oh, they've just announced they're going to quit. They're going to quit at the end of the thing." The thing is, most actors who play the Doctor do 3 years. And then, do 3 series and then they generally move on, or they do 3 series and a couple of specials and then they move on. The 3 years would mean that the next Doctor that comes in, if Jodie left at the end of the 3 years, would probably come in around the time of the 60th anniversary, and either they'd either get a series in just before that to establish them, or they would then, start on the 60th. Who knows? You never know with the BBC. You just don't know. Now, everyone, so 2050 special edition, maybe in the future, perhaps, if I feel like it. Probably will at some point. You know me, I'll think, maybe I could add that animation back in with Japan getting destroyed by the typhoon. Mind you, calling it Typhoon Cujo, I had to laugh. For those of you who've have read the Stephen film, it's based around the Stephen King dog. I couldn't help myself. Also, I had a family member who had a dog named Cujo, and we all, during the 80s, it was like, why did you name that dog Cujo? That was one of those weird things. So, yeah, there is an animation of the Japanese side of things, and also for a couple of the other ones with Canada. Sorry, I almost called it Canada. Canada. So there are some animations there. I just wasn't happy with them. So yeah, they may yet come back. Everyone, at this point, I'm going to love you and leave you all. So you know the deal. If you have any suggestions, pop them in the comments of any of the videos. That's totally cool. I might be working on some CGI as well. I'm not exactly sure. Go over to my MJY Creative channel, please, and give it a bit of love. There's some music and remixes on there. Please do go and have a look at those. They really deserve a bit of love this year, and there's probably going to be more music as well. I may end up sort of having my creative week where I work on photography one week, I work on a music piece, the next one that goes up on the MJY Creative channel, and then I do an EAS for the last 2 weeks. It could very well end up being like that. It's just one of those joys of being someone who's creative in several different areas at once. I often feel torn. So, yeah. So, War of the Mechanics on the 17th of January, everyone. Get on over to EAS Australia's channel. Support the community, please. Harv as well over at Harvester. He's pretty cool. And, there's some really great EAS makers. So, do feel free to go and give them their support, give them some love and support as well. Yeah, so you'll see videos from me roughly once a month, hopefully for the rest of the year. That also means that Google should also, pay me some advertising revenue, which would be nice because I could do with some cash. Buying synthesizers gets you into, credit card debt. So, yeah. But in the meantime, everyone, wherever you are, it's War of the Machines. Sorry, it's War of the Machines is EAS's one. War of the Machines. Go and have a look. So wherever you are, please look after yourself. Last year was shite. Okay, this year is still shite, but it's shite with a light at the end of the toilet tunnel. Okay. Things can get better. Vaccines are rolling out around the world now. Countries will get their outbreaks under control eventually. America will probably take longer than most. I'm so sorry to say that to Americans, but it's probably the truth. Here in Australia, we've done a pretty good job, and we will probably go up and down with, restrictions as they need to. But I think I think Australia is going to be pretty much, fully normal by mid-year, and then we'll have our vaccine rollout. And I think we'll be one of the few countries that'll be able to have a real COVID normal. But for wherever you are in the world, please stay safe. Look after yourself. Look after each other. Wear a mask. Be respectful. Be friendly. When you can, when you finally get to give someone the hug, make that hug just that little bit extra harder and that little bit longer, because you don't know when you're going to get to hug them again. Okay. And that's when it's safe to hug. I miss hugs. And as I've said many times, I wish I could give all of you a hug, because we're all suffering right now. I hope that you enjoy 2050 and the other EAS videos, and also my music and CGI stuff over at the MJY Creative channel. You'll also probably find over the next few weeks, you may see more of my classes, workshops that I've done with Ready Tech Go. I'll also be popping those up on the channels for my clients and my regular workshop attendees to download. And of course, if you want to learn anything about tech, you're more than welcome to watch those workshops that I'll be posting for the team I work for at Ready Tech Go. In the meantime, everyone, look after yourselves, please. I don't know how often I can say that, but please do look after yourselves. If I could have you all round for dinner tonight, I would. I'm cooking, which is interesting. Boy, if I started doing a lot of cooking. I do mean tacos, okay? Even Mexican friends are like, whew, they're really good. So yeah, I do some mean tacos. But look after yourselves, please. That's all I can really say, is stay safe, be well. Drop me a message in the comments, any suggestions when you see on videos. I've noticed there's a couple of voice issues with the last parts, but I'm not going to go back and upload the video again. It took an age for it to render. It took 2 days for this video to render and 12 hours for it to upload for some reason. So I'm just going to, hold off maybe. But definitely look out for Kaiju Part 1 at the end of the month. In the meantime, be well, be safe, share the channel around with your friends. As they say, like, comment, and share. Poor Cher. She really, she never gets the best of it, does she? But please look after yourselves. I love you all. And I'll see you hopefully later in the month for the premiere of Kaiju Part 1 and maybe a live chat then as well. Take care, everyone. Ciao.